I will let you guys know when I am to the top of that mountain. All right, here we go. 9 things I wish I knew before becoming a helicopter pilot. So I'm making this video kind of as a video that I wish I would have seen before I became a pilot, but also for you. These are things that you can kind of expect if you are starting down this road, and if you are a pilot, you're gonna resonate with some of these for sure. But the first thing that I wish I knew before I became a helicopter pilot is the mountain is very steep. I don't remember who told me, but while I was at flight school, we had this outdoor deck, and that's where everyone studied and kind of hung out. And one of the people there I was having a conversation with, and they were like, Devin, you know, the mountain is very steep. It's very steep, and you'll know what I mean when you get on it. But I'm gonna throw up this picture I made, and we'll kind of talk about it and explain what this statement means. All right, so I call this the Heli Pilot Mountain, and I made this, and I think it's pretty accurate. So if we look at the bottom left corner, you see private and IFR, and it's kind of like a pretty steep but gradual climb. And I say private and IFR, the reasons why. Private is hard because it's all new. You're starting at the bottom of the mountain, you don't really know anything, so it's this pretty steep hike to learn what's going on. And IFR, the reason I put that in the same category is because now you know how to fly. It's not actually the manipulation of the helicopter, but it's learning this whole new world and this new concept and this new phraseology on the radio and procedures. So it is kind of a new world, kind of like private piloting is a new world for you. But it is a steep climb right there, but it is fairly doable. But commercial is kind of like private. You're well into the hike, the blood is flowing, your muscles are moving, you kind of know how things are working, you're climbing and you're feeling good, and you just got to keep going. You're almost to the top of a pretty big hill. So once you finish private, IFR, and commercial, you're like, wow, I just climbed this pretty big mountain. I feel good, I'm breathing, you can see this beautiful view, and you're like, you turn around and you're like, oh snap, there's way more to this mountain. Next up is CFI and CFII, or Certified Flight Instructor Instrument. You can see that on this illustration, we actually go back downhill and then have to re-climb again. And that's actually what it feels like to be a flight instructor and learning how to be a flight instructor. Not only do you have to learn all of the knowledge and how to teach, but you have to learn about the fundamentals of instruction, like how to teach and how learners learn. It is this massive, overwhelming hill to climb or knowledge base that you have to learn. So after you've done commercial, private, IFR, and you made it to the top of the hill, you go back down and then up another steep hill to do CFI and CFII. And then when you get to the top of that hill with all of your ratings done, you look down and you're like, wow, I have all these ratings, I climbed this massive hill, and then you turn around and you're like, oh, I'm still not there yet. I still have a ton of things to do. And that final long push, you can see that this is like the longest stretch here, is that 2,000 hour time build. So for anyone that doesn't know, that once you get all of your ratings, you'll probably have about 250-ish hours of flight time. The only jobs you can really do at that point are really instructing, but sometimes tours if you get picked up and you're lucky. You have to get to those 2,000 hours of pilot and command time to be able to fly those big jobs like police, firefighting, EMS, news, whatever you see those big helicopters doing. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm in that grind right now, grinding up to those 2,000 hours, just chugging along. I know how to climb now. My muscles are kind of getting tired, but I know what I'm doing, so I know how to use them efficiently, and I'm just got my headphones in and I'm just climbing that mountain, just hiking, just hiking, just hiking. And this is like the long part, and you just go and you get up that mountain, and I will let you guys know when I am to the top of that mountain. So that was point number 1, the mountain is steep. The second thing that I wish I would have known is you will meet some of the greatest people of your entire life. Not only in flight school, but once you start that first job and that second job and you immerse yourself in the aviation community, whether it's on here on YouTube or Instagram or during meetups or Reddit, wherever the aviation community goes, you're gonna meet some great people in there. In my experience, I've been in the aviation world for about 3 years now, and all of my friends from high school and my past life, I still talk to some of them, but I would say my most immediate deep connection friendships are all from the aviation world that I've amassed in the last couple of years. These people are extremely smart, extremely driven, extremely motivated. They think like you, they push you to be your best, and we all have this love of being in the sky. There's not a greater group of people I'd want to be around. And I value the friendships that I've made through the aviation community more than I value almost any other part of this aviation journey I have been on. All right, the third thing I wish I would have known before I became a helicopter pilot is it is the best decision I have ever made. There's not too much that needs to be said, and there's not really a word or a string of words I can describe the process of becoming a helicopter pilot, but it has changed who I am. Not only how I think and how I act and how I carry myself, and now the trajectory I see my life on now, but it is incredibly fun and exciting and rewarding. I will talk about that in a later point. But there's not a single part about flight school or becoming a pilot that I regret. It has been truly undescribable. I am more grateful for the decision I made, and I really thank Devin of 2018, 2019 who said, hey, let's go be a pilot, because that decision put me on really a trajectory and a life path that I couldn't have ever dreamed of or imagined. Okay, the fourth thing that I wish I would have known before I became a pilot is you're gonna travel a ton. You're gonna travel to all sorts of cool places, not just by like flying the helicopter across state lines or going and doing new jobs or tours in cool places, but you're gonna travel a lot doing things just in the aviation world, whether it's attending seminars and trainings all across the country, whether it's that your company needs you to go pick a helicopter up and ferry it somewhere, or you're on one of the Facebook groups and they say, hey, I need a pilot to come along to ferry a helicopter from New York to California, and you get to do that cross country. And the biggest reason you're gonna travel a lot is because as a helicopter pilot, you're gonna be a nomad. You're going to move around a lot. The likelihood that you go to flight school and maybe work in that same job, sure, as a flight instructor, yeah. But after that, you're probably not going to stay in whatever town you did your training in. That does happen, but you're probably going to move around. Within the time period of starting flight school to 5 years down the road with 3,000 hours, you're going to have moved around a lot. And this is so beneficial. You get to see the country, you get to see the world, you get to see new places and experience new cultures. What I've seen in the industry is helicopter pilots are kind of on these short little stunts for like maybe 1 to 2 to 3 years before moving on to something else. And we kind of do this for a while. And that makes me really excited because I think like 1 to 3 years really gives you enough time to understand the area and the culture, but then it's time for something new and you get to go explore somewhere new. Of course, you can settle down and stay in one job for a decade, but as helicopter pilots, we like to be moving, we like to be going, we like to see new things. So that's one of the great parts about this job. All right, I think this is number 5, but it's gonna go faster than you think. The process of being in flight school doesn't feel this way. It is a long, slow, drawn out process, waiting for check rides, 1 or 2 flights per week, maybe more, but it's just this slow process, this slow grind. Like going from 0 to hero or 0 to CFI, CFII, that's at least a year-long process. And during that time period, it feels like it's taking forever. And then specifically, like when you graduate flight school, which was like a 1 to 2 year process, maybe even longer, then you get a job as a flight instructor or a tour pilot, and you're just there every day grinding, really just building up those hours, and it feels like it's taking so long, like your hours are slowly accumulating. But then a year later, as I am as a CFI with hundreds of more hours, I'm flying like more than 500 hours a year, it's like, oh snap, I only have to do this a little bit longer and I'm gonna be at those 2,000 hours. That 2,000 hour number mark is like quickly approaching. There's this phrase that the days are long, but the years are short, and it's true. In flight school and as an instructor, things feel like they're dragging. The days, the weeks, they're dragging on, taking forever. But then you look back, where was I exactly a year from now? Oh, I wasn't even instrument or CFII rated. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know the instrument world at all. A year later, I'm teaching instrument and I know the whole instrument world, and I'm flying. I'm getting paid to fly. So the days are long, but the years are short, and it goes way faster than you'd think. All right, point number 6 is it's gonna humble you. Becoming a helicopter pilot will humble the out of you. If I'm being honest, I never really thought I was that good at too many things. I wasn't one of those people where it's like, oh yeah, I pick things up easy, or like things just come naturally to me. No, I was fairly smart, but I wasn't good at math. I was never a great reader. I was just like average, a little bit below average. But even if you say you are one of those people that you're like, things come easy to me, I pick things up really easy, flying helicopters is gonna be fine. Just get in and try and really commit to the process. For those people that things come really easy, it's gonna be a shock to you how hard it is. Not specifically, maybe you're good at the stick flying. Maybe you're like naturally good at controlling the helicopter and understanding the airflow and the aerodynamics and making the helicopter do what you want it to do. Well, on the backside, you've got all of the knowledge stuff. So the weather, the navigation, the weight, the performance, all of that stuff, I like to summarize it as aviation IQ or your aviation intelligence. Combining both is hard. It's like trying to eat spaghetti with your left hand while eating spaghetti with your right hand and then mixing it and trying to eat it. That was a really weird analogy, but you get the point. It's super hard to combine everything you need to learn to really become a good pilot. And for someone like me, where I was just like average, a little bit less than average, I feel like it was hard. I had to really sit there and fight to learn how to just fly the helicopter. That was not easy for me. And then the aviation IQ, the knowledge, damn, that was really hard to learn. So if you have been on this power trip for a while, you're like, I'm smart, I know what I'm doing, I've been working in my job for a while, or I was good in school, well, learn to fly helicopters and become a pilot, and it will definitely humble you. Okay, number 7 is there's definitely money to be made. I've got a video that I'll put up right there about how much money I make as a flight instructor right now. But as I approach my 1,000 hours and I can see 2,000 hours off, everyone always looks for jobs, and you're always online looking for jobs. There's money to be made. You know, talking to people in the industry, just the chatter, just the things you pick up, there's money out there. Now, I'm not saying you're gonna be on a doctor or lawyer salary, but like low-key, you can kind of get there if you want. There's helicopter pilot jobs that pay in the high 100,000s to approaching $200,000 a year. Now, starting out, you're not gonna make that. Let me put that out front. You are going to be not making a ton of money right when you graduate flight school. Definitely not in flight school. But then maybe 2 to 3 years out and you're like a CFII and you're a commercial pilot with 2,000 hours, you're gonna be doing okay. Let me quench your fears. There's money to be made as a helicopter pilot. And the fact that we can even just cover our expenses while getting to do such a fun, incredible activity, priceless. All right, number 8 is people will think highly of you. You know, I hate to be facetious. I hate to be self-centered, and as pilots we do like have type A personalities, and a lot of us are outgoing. The thing is that I've experienced is when you tell someone you're a helicopter pilot, most people think it's pretty cool. You know, the most common reaction I have is, wow, can you tell me more about that? What was that like? What was school like? What do you do? What do you fly? Is it scary? Is it hard? Can I do it? Things like that. People are pretty interested and people think it's a cool thing to do. Now, I know it's so annoying when a pilot tells you they're a pilot because they're like, oh, they just want to tell me they're a pilot because they think so highly of themselves. No, and sometimes I do feel like, low-key, this is kind of weird, but I feel kind of embarrassed when I tell someone I'm a pilot. Because I'm proud of the fact that I did it and that's my job, but I don't want them to think that like I think highly of myself. You know, I'm like a down-to-earth guy and I want them to think that, and just by saying, oh hey, I fly helicopters, I'm a helicopter pilot, they're like, oh, look at this guy. And I think that's just in my head because that really doesn't happen that often. I've gotten very positive reactions, but if you're looking for a career where people think it's cool, this is one of them. Most people find it cool. And the final thing I wish I knew before becoming a helicopter pilot is I have never regretted it. It is by far the best decision I've ever made. I kind of was talking about this earlier, but it has been undescribably beneficial to my life. It has been fun, exciting, challenging as crap, but totally worth it. There were times in flight school where I was like, oh my God, this is hard, but never once did I think about quitting. And I never gave up and I pushed through. It's kind of like, I don't know if you were in elementary school and like you had to do the mile. It's like, oh, this sucks, but you get around the mile and you push yourself and you're like, oh, I just pushed myself and I just ran a mile and I feel pretty good. Pushing yourself to learn how to become an aviator and to become a pilot was the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. I mean, I could talk about this forever, but it is kind of hard to describe, but I mean, if I had to say it in words, it's the best decision I've ever made and I have never regretted it. All right, that's gonna wrap up this video. 9 things I wish I knew before becoming a helicopter pilot. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please smash the like button and subscribe for more aviation content. If you're thinking about going on this journey, honestly, please do. Shoot me a message or anything, or just start getting involved in the aviation community. It is incredible, so beneficial. There are ways to do it and you are going to love it as much as I loved it. If you even have that inclination that this might be the thing for you, please go for it. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. I will see you on the next one. Take care.